What's up, everybody? I come to you in dark times for the MAGA movement, dark times for the Republican Party. The Democrats have found their secret weapon. They found it. We're cooked. Are we cooked, chat? Are we cooked? I think we're cooked. They have found their secret weapon to connect with young men who is where they're having the most problem polling with young men. They didn't need to go to the gym. They didn't need to go to religion. They didn't need to go to the middle class, blue collar, hardworking men. They have found a way to make a comeback. And it is in the shape of a queer, Latina, plus size, disabled woman. So, without further ado, let's play some video and see what she has to say. But it might be over. It might be over for us. Let's have a listen.
I keep seeing people talk about young men in the 2020 cycle or in the 2024 cycle, and they keep saying like, well, it's because they're not getting laid enough and they feel judged, and or alternatively, well, they're just racist and they hate women. So like it's really, I see these takes coming out from both sides of the party wing, I would say. And I just think that all of that is wrong. I think all of it is wrong. And so I wrote this piece called The Politics of Getting Laid and Preachy Females. And I really dive into what I actually perceive it to be. And shocker, it's all economic anxiety. I think the Democrats have a really bad problem of every time we message to young men, we frame it in a way that is wrapped up in the same principles that we critique. We critique the patriarchy. We critique the way that men have hierarchy and power structures. And then we message to them as if not only is that the reality, but that they have to continue to be like that. So the example I use in the article is the issue of abortion. When we message to young men on abortion, or men in general, we do it from the position of, well, real men protect women. And if you care about the women in your life, you should be pro-choice. And that might be true. That is true. But we don't come at it from the approach of this is the reality that young men face about that issue. Because it's entirely possible that a young woman in college gets pregnant unexpectedly, and that could upend her life if she doesn't have access to abortion care.
You might know Harbor Freight for affordability. What you might not know, performance.
But it's also entirely true that the young guy who gets her pregnant, now he's on the hook to not only take care of this child that could be him, that could be coming into the world, but also to take care now of the mother of his child. And I think that it would be so much easier if we just understood that the problems we're having with young men shifting to the right, it's not because they don't agree with us on the policy. They do agree with us on the policy. It's because they feel like we don't understand the struggles they're facing, the actual struggles, not the perceived struggles of the masculinity crisis or whatever it is, the actual struggles. And instead, we just kind of want to blame them for all of our problems.
Right. I think there's a lot of that I just fully agree with. I mean, we just don't message.
No. So her answer is you need to be pro-choice, aka pro-murdering babies, because guys, we're doing you a favor. We're letting you off the hook. You don't have to be a dad or responsible for a child or a woman now. Tell her to get an abortion. Be pro-choice. No, that is not what most men. You know what men do agree with that? It's the soy boy cucks that are already voting Democrat. They're the ones who play the game of Oh, I'm a feminist. I champion women's rights. Just so they can do shit like that and get women pregnant and just tell them to get an abortion. That way they have no personal responsibility. How about we look at that topic how we all should look at it? I'm pro choice in the sense of the choice is decided once you decide to engage in sex. Sex equals potential baby. That was your choice right then and there. You chose to make the choice to engage in sexual intercourse. Therefore, should you end up pregnant, you are now on the hook. And that's both the man and the woman. You're both on the hook. Grow a set, grow the fuck up, and decide, hey, I am bringing another life into this world now. I need to grow the fuck up, get my shit together, and take responsibility for my own actions. Both the man and the woman. Not, I'm not ready, kill it. So, no, you're wrong on that end already.
To men, right? And it's like we don't message in a way that resonates to men. Like something that you kind of responded to that I've seen a lot is
Can I also just say this dude looks like the typical Democrat dude anyway. Scrawny little fucking soy boy cup. That's what he comes off. I don't know who he is, but hey.
reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? It's like
because it's masculine and you all are fucking weak.
men want to have sex and like own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody. And Republicans say you get to do that. And then Democrats can't say that. So we just lost men, it's over, right? Like, what are you talking about? Like a lot of times it will be men that are liberals who will like agree with that shit. I'm like, dude, what are you like? What is going on? Like there's a lot of men that don't think that way, obviously. And it's just such a negative view to take on like half of the human race.
Well, I also think it's just so abundantly clear that the people who say these things don't actually spend time talking to young men. You know this because we know each other in real life, but I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and I spend a lot of time with
young men.
I love young men. I love frat guys, and in that I realized like even the ones that identify.
She loves frat guy. One, doubt it. She's apparently a queer, disabled lesbian, and she's plus size. So, look, I know frat guys, you know, you got a dry spell going on, you're intoxicated, you just slammed a fucking 30 rack of Natty Light. Maybe this would be what you go home with at the end of the night. But no. Frat guys are not going to love this for the most part. Unless those dire circumstances come up. But she loves frat guys. Doubt it.
As conservative are almost always pro-choice. They're almost always pro-gay marriage. You'd be surprised at the number of them who supported Black Lives Matter. And so I feel like people just kind of lump them into this box when the truth is, again, a lot of them are with us on the issues.
No, they're not. Most aren't pro-choice. That's why you're seeing Gen Z unequivocally turn more to the church and religion. Millennials, which is what I fall under, yeah, a lot of the fucking millennials are degenerate scumbags. Sorry. They might be pro-choice. But it's mainly the women, once again. Pro-gay marriage, I mean, that one could go either way. I got a lot of gay friends. I don't give a shit. But here's why even the gay marriage thing is losing traction is because the good people in the LGBTQ community don't call out the degenerates within their community. Therefore, people in the LGBT community that are trying to fuck with kids, warp kids' minds, get kids involved, that's a no-go for normal, everyday, average Americans. That is a no-go. And a lot of the gay folks don't call the weird shit out, so that makes normies get fed up and just completely not supportive of the gay community in general. I don't care what you do as long as there's no children involved. I've been to gay bars and had a blast, okay? It's 21 and up. All consenting adults. There's no children. That is where me and I would assume most normies have an issue. Like Pride Month. I have a problem with all these pride parades because these people, they bring their children, there are children being exposed, and there's dudes in weird fucking kink leather, dog costumes, barely wearing any clothes, assless chaps, dildos all around. Kids do not need to be exposed to this crap. And until the LGBT community, the good folks in it, call out this shitty behavior, you are not going to gain the support, and it will just overall be condemned.
They're just not part of our coalition because they feel like they're not welcomed in it.
They're not talked to, right? And yeah, they're not welcome. That's true. Like there's a lot of times where it's like being like masculine characteristics or seem like they're frowned upon, and they're kind of welcomed and championed by the Republican Party. And like masculine characteristics are not characteristics that are intrinsically bad, right? And I think that some Democrats have presented it that way. Now, obviously not most Democrats, but it's like this perception that a lot of guys have had.
No, most Democrats do perceive it that way. That's why toxic masculinity has been such a big push for the Democratic Party. They hate it. They only like testosterone when it's a woman who decides she's transgender injecting testosterone.
Of issues like good messaging is messaging that resonates with people's actual anxieties and lived experience, right? And so yeah, like the whatever podcast can resonate with men that are like incels or like struggling with women, right? Because a girl was mean to them or whatever, and they're able to project upon like those women which come on and like look really dumb. They're able to say like, yeah, all women are like this. I feel better about myself. But there's all these other things that resonate probably more, which is like, man, shit's expensive, right? Man, I don't feel supported, right? Like, I don't feel like there's anywhere for me to go, right? I feel like if something bad happens to me, no one's there to support me. That's the thing that a lot of men deal with because men are a lot of times kind of put in the box of supporting other people. So no one's there to support themselves. And it's like, those are things that we can.
So when you take an Adderall, what happens is you're actually releasing more dopamine into the synapse.
Absolutely talk to. Actually, we could probably speak to better than the Republican Party.
Yeah, I think speaking to that is also understanding the mentality that they're coming from too. So another example is when you look at the polling of what are the issues that are the most important to young men, one of the top issues consistently is immigration. If you actually talk to a young guy about how he feels about immigration, am I allowed to cuss on this?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about immigration. It's this idea of scarcity and competition of if you're a young man in America, you are expected to go to college or go to a trade school, get a certification, get a degree. Then you're expected to get a high-paying job. And then once you get your high-paying job, you're expected to find your wife and to buy a house and to have kids and to do all of these things. And if you don't do that, then you're a failure because you are the man and you are the provider. And if you can't provide, then you're not actually a man. And so the Republicans specifically, they set this expectation and then they make it almost impossible for young men to actually do those things, whether it's through not raising minimum wage, whether it's through the price of tuition going up, all these different things. And so what ends up happening is you have these young guys.
I'm sorry, Republicans make the price of tuition go up? I'm sorry. College is a scam, A, and that's what's mainly pushed by the Democrat Party. But B, yeah, you are supposed to protect and provide for a man. And we accept that. And the immigration, yeah, we do care about immigration. Same thing as why I shit on feminism. I know liberals don't have the brain capacity to think with logic and common sense. But a big reason that wages have stayed stagnant and can't go up is because they doubled the workforce when women were allowed to join the workforce. Supply and demand here, people. It's not rocket science. Women join the workforce, doubling the workforce. Therefore, they could keep wages stagnant and not have to increase them. Same thing that happens when you have too much immigration coming in. Immigrants that are used to a lower quality of life even making minimum wage or less in the US, still are provided a better life than they would have had in their shitty third world country. So they will come here and they will get jobs over Americans, not because the Americans aren't willing to do the jobs. This is what the Democrats say. They just want a permanent slave class. Americans will do the jobs that illegals and immigrants are doing. They just want a higher wage, which is what she's complaining about wages not going up. Wages don't go up because of the policies that your party are pushing for. When you have people coming over from third world countries willing to work for way lower wages, they then get the greedy corporations to hire them instead of the American who would do the job, but they will not do the job for slave wages. AKA, you're contributing to your own problem. The left loves to hate on greedy corporations when it suits them, but then they argue for slave labor, which gives the corporations way more profit because they can pay a third world country immigrant far less than what they would pay an American. It's not rocket science. These people are fucking retarded.
They're working every single day. They're working on oil rigs. They're working at Amazon warehouses. Maybe they work a 9-to-5 job. They're working every single day, and they're still not getting ahead. So then we force young men to make this decision of either you.
Yeah, we're not getting ahead also, and this is a bipartisan issue. Spending, printing money. Both parties are guilty of it. It's not a Democrat or Republican only thing. Republicans just act like they're against the spending until they're in office, then they're down to spend. But Democrats at least don't hide it. Democrats are like spend, 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 spend. That increases inflation and makes the dollar worthless. That is why stuff costs way too much and people can't afford housing and people can't afford groceries. It's because our government, both sides, spend, 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 print, 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 print. That's not that hard to figure out either. If you look more into the Libertarian Party, that is what a lot of libertarians push for, and that is what made me wake up and made me take all my money, almost all my money, out of just a typical savings bank where it was just losing value and put it into actual assets.
You can blame yourself or you can blame others. And if you're a young guy and you're working 8 to 12 hours a day, if you're paying all your bills, you're doing everything you can, and you're still not getting ahead, why do we expect them to think that they're the problem? They're doing everything that they've been told to do their entire life. And so that kind of little nagging, insecure voice in the back of the head, that's where Republicans really push through that ideology and get to young men, is because then they can convince them, well, this is the person whose fault it is. It's not your fault that you can't get ahead in America. It's the immigrants who are coming here. It's their fault because they're taking your high-paying jobs.
Right. And this hits on something that's so true. It's not that people are intrinsically prejudiced against immigrants. I mean, certainly some people are, but most people are not. The critical mass of Americans that say they care about immigration are not. It's that Republicans have made immigration an economic issue. They've made it an everything issue. I mean, they point to immigrants and they say, these are the people that are taking away your livelihood, the safety of your family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like, that's a lie. It's a vicious lie, but it's a lie that you can perhaps understand people believing if they have.
It's not a lie at all. And the problem that we have with immigration, now that I'm making this video, all these LA riots are going on where these immigrants are holding are they holding an American flag like I got behind me? No. They're holding Mexican flags and flags of other countries. Go back to your other country if you're so proud of it. Why are you here if you're not wanting to hoist an American flag? People don't have a problem with immigrants that truly want to come here and make a better life for themselves and blend in to our culture. But we have too many that just believe in their culture and they want to change America to their culture. No, you're coming to America to be an American. You will show the American flag and you'll be proud of American values, not the other way around. or you can get the fuck out.
No other explanations offered to them. And I think there's something else about this that's really insightful. It's men are looking for an explanation about why things kind of suck in their lives, right? And so if you look at a lot of the content that men like watch, well, some of it's, this right-wing content. A lot of it's like self-help stuff, right? Like who's the most into self-help? It's men. And what does the self-help say? It's your mind, it's your thought process that's the reason why things suck, right? And it's not that people are even always eager to blame someone else. They're just eager to have an explanation, a solution to the suffering they're facing in their lives.
I had a really in-depth conversation a few weeks ago with some other content creators where I was talking about the messaging that the Democratic Party uses so often, and we talk about the diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI, and I think where we've kind of fallen into this trap is we have made the party exclusive by trying to make it inclusive. And what I mean by that is every room we walk into, the messaging that we're using is different. Every single one of them. And I think that that's the wrong way to go about it. I think we should have one specific, this is the message we use on this issue. Because people are going to interpret that message however they want to interpret it. Everyone has their own form of cultural competency. So, and I think what Trump in particular is they kind of just say the same thing over and over again. And then if they ever change their opinion on it, they just say it with so much confidence that it's hard to convince people that that's not what they meant. So for us, I think we should just be saying the same thing about the same issue over and over and over again and let the voters decide what it means through their own cultural lens instead of telling them specifically what we mean every single time.
Right. The issue with pandering is it looks like you're pandering. You don't seem genuine whenever you're saying something different in two different rooms with different demographics in them. Even if you are being genuine, but sometimes it's just not, right? Like the Kamala Harris's agenda for black men. I don't think that really went anywhere because it just seems so kind of contrived. It seems so like.
Well, and this is the same thing. It's the same thing that Hillary Clinton did, where you'll have people on the right throw out these claims of like, well, what are you doing for this group? And we'll have these long-winded explanations with these details and these figures, and then we can go out and talk about it so we're blue in the face, but at that point the conversation's already moved on because they didn't actually care about the answer. They cared about how they felt about the answer. And so I feel like we just get into these specifics so frequently that frankly people just don't care about.
But we need simple ideas that you articulate all the time, right? It's like, for instance, build more housing, right? And somebody says, well, how does that benefit this group? It's like, well, do you live in housing? Like there's some big economic issues that hit everybody. Affordability is one of the most central ones. And that's something that we should champion. And the good news is it helps everyone, right? It's not just good policy all the time, but it's also like, we don't need to have different messages for different groups in large part because there isn't different policy solutions for different groups. Like targeted policies are usually ones that are kind of watered down, right? They're kind of less, like increasing funding for specific grant programs for certain races of businesses. I mean, that's great and all, and we've had that for a long time. But that's not going to fix the big economic inequality and opportunity issues we have in this country. The only thing that can do that is dramatic investments, is a huge expansion of the social support system, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the kind of stuff that we should probably focus on.
No, the social support system is our biggest debt that we pay and why the national deficit is in such dire straits that it is now. The social programs are the biggest culprit. And until we cut back on those, the government is not your daddy. This is why family is so important. But the Democrat Party has taken the family away. They don't want you getting married and having children. They don't want the nuclear family. Before, we were having big families. Then when the elderly got older, who took care of them? Not the government. The younger children. That's the importance of family. Your parents raise you and take care of you when you're young. You will then return the favor when they are older and no longer able to take care of themselves. We don't need the government stepping in and being daddy. but now we have nobody having children, so a bunch of people are relying on the government.
That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you look at things like, the healthcare plan, or, homeowners, like first-time loans up to this amount or this percentage. I need Democrats to start talking like, well, what's your healthcare policy? My healthcare policy is healthcare should be good and cheap.
Right. Because he doesn't explain like, I'm going to do price transparency.
Yeah, that's good, but that's the opposite of what Obamacare was. Like, here's my problem with it. They actually seem like they know the issues. But the problem is, my camera died. Sorry, we're going to switch to a lower quality camera now. They know the issues. They just don't know how to fix them and how to go about them to fix them. Their answers, their remedies are wrong. So, since my camera died, we'll cut that one early anyways, because that's about as interesting as that interview gets. But in case this chick looks familiar to you and you couldn't quite pinpoint it, let me play who she was at the Democrat convention. And this is the chick that was just being interviewed there. Their savior for the Democrat Party right now to get young men back into the fold. That's right. If you're not on the table, you're on the menu. And she could eat a whole menu full. So, this is the biggest. I don't know. The Democrat Party's in shambles, man. In case you're going to tell, I was joking at the beginning saying we're cooked. This is the best they have to send to connect to young men. In a just world, the Republicans won't lose for a while. And as I've said before, I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm not Libertarian. I have, little pieces that I agree with on all sides. But the Republican Party is not batshit crazy like the Democrats right now. So, that's their biggest hope right now. A queer, plus-size, disabled Latina who could eat the whole menu. And she knows how to get to young men. She loves frat guys. All right, so we'll end this one here. Since my camera died, I got to let it charge. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe at Trad West Podcast on all platforms. Until next time, Trad West Podcast out.